Hello, everybody. I'm Peter the Booklover, and this is Book Talk. This is where I talk about the books that I recently read. This is episode 23, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Let's talk about this book. Hello again. I am Peter the Booklover. I'm a person that likes to read a lot of books. I like to talk about books. I like to collect books. And I also like to talk about movies. So I decided to make a YouTube channel talking about movies and books. And I have a fun time doing it. Hopefully you'll have a good time too. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. But before I get into this book, I really want to thank the audience for being here. I want you to know that I really appreciate you giving me your time. It means a lot to me, and I want to thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get into this. This is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This book was written in 1925, and this is an interesting book. Now, the thing about this book is that I've read this book twice now. The first time that I read this book, I really did not have a high opinion of this book. And I think the reason why that I didn't have a high opinion of this book is because it was different than what I thought this was. I actually thought this was going to be a book about partying in the 20s. But this is really a tragic love story. Not a romantic love story, but kind of a love story that's kind of winds up being a tragedy. And it's pretty interesting. See, now that I've read it a second time, I actually have a lot higher opinion of this book. This book is actually a lot better than I thought it was. I'm more impressed with it now than when I first read it. Now, what this is about Jay Gatsby. Jay Gatsby is a person that was poor that figured out a way to become rich. But when he was poor, he actually tried to pursue a woman named Daisy. And Daisy and him kind of couldn't connect because he was just too poor for her. And then later on, he becomes rich, and he still wants to get with this woman. So this story is narrated by Nick Carraway. Nick Carraway is the narrator, and he actually lives right next door to Jay Gatsby. Now, we don't meet Jay Gatsby in the first chapter. In the first chapter, we actually meet Daisy Buchanan. Then we meet Jordan Baker, which is a friend of hers that Nick actually is attracted to. And then we meet Daisy's husband, Tom Buchanan. Now, when we meet Tom Buchanan, he's a very interesting character in my opinion. He's got the reason why I think he's interesting because he's very flawed. He's racist, he's arrogant, and he's a misogynist. So he's got some very bad qualities. And as a matter of fact, he is cheating on his wife to the point to where it's very bold because he's actually getting phone calls from his lover at his house while Nick's over there. And it's pretty blatant that he's cheating on her. So we get to meet these, and they have this night, and at the end of the night, Nick goes home. But at the end of the night, when he gets home, he sees somebody standing in the next door neighbor's yard, and there's this mansion, and he's standing on the lawn, and he's kind of reaching out for this green light, and he's like looks like he wants it, like it's a desire for this light, but he really doesn't meet him at that point. But we spend some more time with Tom. And actually, we go to this garage that's in this deserted wasteland that's in a part of town. And when we go to this wasteland, we go to this garage that's there's a mechanic that's working there, and his wife is Myrtle Wilson, and she's the one that is dating Tom on the side. So these two actually have an apartment to where they meet up often. So they kind of have a party at this apartment, and they have all these people over, and the party kind of ends when Tom gets very aggravated and he breaks this woman's nose because she is teasing him about Daisy. So we realize that Tom is not the best person. So then a little bit later, we actually go back to Nick, and he actually gets an invitation to come to a party of Jay Gatsby. So he goes to this party, and he actually takes Jordan Baker with him. And they're at this party, and they wind up meeting Jay Gatsby. It's kind of cool the way they meet each other. We also meet another character that we kind of meet later in the story. There's a guy that's in Jay's library, and he's really impressed by his collection of library books. And he's really impressed with it, and there's a little bit of time he spends with this person. And there's a couple other things. These were the parties that I was expecting this book to be about. But the party's not really a part of the story. So we're at this party, and Jordan and Gatsby take off, and they kind of have a conversation. And it turns out that Gatsby wants to have tea with Daisy at Nick's house. So Nick sets up this little meeting between him and Daisy. So they go to Nick's house. But the thing about it is, when Daisy arrives, Gatsby actually takes off and goes in the rain, and then he comes over like he just got there. And when they first run into each other and have this reunion, because they've known each other before, it's really awkward at first. But after a little bit of time, it's not so awkward, and they get along, and there's some time that's spent later, and then we go to another party, but with Tom and Daisy, and we go to this other party, and then a little bit later, we actually have this time to where they're hanging out, and they decide to go to another hotel in town. So they go to this hotel, and they're at this hotel, and there's a confrontation between Gatsby and Tom. And it kind of boils over, and Tom kind of like points out that Gatsby didn't make his money legitimately. He kind of did some crooked things. And Tom actually kind of wins this like confrontation. But then there's a couple other things that I really don't want that happen. A tragedy happens, and then a little bit later another tragedy happens, and then there's the ending that is very sad. The ending is very sad and depressing, and I really don't want to give the ending away, but it's very sad, so you know that. So that's pretty much what happens without me giving away what really happens. But the thing that's really interesting about this book is F. Scott Fitzgerald actually describes color in this book quite often, and the color is kind of a big part of this book. It's like the way that he describes colors is really interesting. You got the green light that Gatsby is reaching for. He's got a yellow car. They point out the color of the yellow car. We talk about the billboard sign that's a blue color with golden spectacles on the billboard. There's a bunch of other descriptions of color throughout this book. And it's kind of interesting the way he talks about colors in this book. And it's something to look out for if you actually read this book. Now, another thing that's interesting, another interesting thing about this book is that when F. Scott Fitzgerald died, this book was not the success it is today. This book sold like 150 copies, 150,000 copies before he died. And nowadays, I'm pretty sure this has sold over 1 million copies. I'm pretty sure it's sold at least 2 million copies, maybe even more than that, because this is a very popular book. And a lot of people that put a list of their classic books that you must read. This is on a lot of must-read lists. And the reason why this is because this is written very well, and it is a fantastic book. It really is. Now that I've read this the second time, I'm really impressed with this book, and I really enjoy it. You know, the first time I read it, I didn't think so much, but now that I've read it the second time, I really think this is a fantastic book, and I really enjoyed it. Now, one other thing is, it's not really clear. See, the thing about it is the way some of the tragedy happens, one is like right in your face, but there's another tragedy that happens that when you get done reading it, you might be a little confused. It's not really graphic of what happens during the second tragedy. But then you find out what happened in the second tragedy by the sad ending of this book. And the ending of this book is quite depressing, you know. No, don't. It's not going to make you cry. It's not a book that's going to break your heart, but it is very sad when you're reading it. But yeah, this is a great book, and I really think that if you had read this once, I think that you should give this your time again, because I really enjoy this a lot more the second time, and I actually plan on reading this more times than 2 times. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be reading this quite often, because this is not a long book. You could actually read this book in one day if you really make an effort to do it. I mean, it took me 2 days to read this book, but that was during the Super Bowl. You know, I mean, I had to take a break to watch the Super Bowl, and then I went back to it, and I finished it in 2 days. So if I didn't go to the Super Bowl, I probably finished in one day. Really great book. So that is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a wonderful book, and I highly recommend it. And that's about it. So that's The Great Gatsby. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and hit the like button and let me know that you enjoyed this video. When you hit the like button, it means a lot to me, and I want to thank everybody for hitting the like button if you do. And please do me a favor, let me know what you think in the comments. Have you read this book? Let me know what you think about this book. I would love to hear from you. One of my favorite parts about doing this channel is communicating with the audience. I love to hear from you, so please let me know what you think in the comments. Now, if you subscribe to this channel, I really wanted to let you know that I really appreciate it. But if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and I make videos all the time. So if you subscribe to my channel, I will give you videos in the future, because I really enjoy doing this, and I'm really making an effort so you enjoy being here as well. So I really make an effort to make these videos the best I can. So that's about it. I am Peter the Book Lover. I want to thank you for coming by, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya.